All right. First of all, two numbers that are additive inverses always have a sum of what? Can we start on that side? Zach, what's your answer for number one? 0. Very good. So, an example, can you give me an example of additive inverses? -6, +6. Put those together, you get 0. They're additive inverses. Very good. Okay, so, oops. Okay, find each sum. Who can explain to me how we're going to find this sum? Go ahead. Okay, and what sign goes in front of 7? It is a positive. When there's no sign, you can put a plus there. What about the 3? How do we fix it so we have one sign in front of the 3?
So you're going to, since it's a positive and a negative,
Uh-huh.
it's going to make it negative.
Okay, now what are we doing?
So now it's plus 7, positive 7 minus 3.
Yes.
Which will equal 4.
Okay, so you took the difference because we had different signs. So the difference of 7 and 3 is 4. And what sign is going to be given to my answer 4?
Well, since 7 is the bigger number.
Well, not bigger number. It's the larger magnitude, meaning farthest from 0. So 7 is further away from 0 than -3. So it'll be a positive. We're going to keep the sign that goes with 7, the larger magnitude. Okay, very good. Who can walk us through number 3? Can I get somebody to walk us through number 3? Go ahead. Okay, since these are different signs in front of each number, and each number has one sign, we're going to take the difference. What's the difference of 9 and 4? It is 5, correct? And which sign is going to win out for my answer? Positive. So 9 is further away from the origin, so we're going to keep the sign that goes with 9, +5. Okay? Who can explain to me number 4? Number 4. Let's go ahead, Rehan.
First, you have to circle the plus and minus.
Okay, so we have two signs in front of 13. We need to make it one sign. What do those two signs become? The plus and minus become what?
Minus.
Minus. So now we have a -22 and a -13. And what are we going to do with those two numbers? They have the same sign, so what do we do with them?
You're going to treat them like addition.
Okay, treat them like addition. So we're going to take the sum of 22 and 13. What's that going to be?
That's going to be 35.
35, very good. And what's the sign of my answer going to be?
Minus.
It's going to be minus. So whatever sign they have in common, we keep for the answer. Okay? And last, number 5. Go ahead, number 5. Right. They're different signs. So what's the difference of 17 and 17? 0. And is -17 or +17, is either of them further away from 0? No. So we don't put plus or minus there. Okay? Any questions? All right. So we're going to see how the lesson 5 and 6 tie in very nicely with multiplying and dividing. It's the same thinking process. I have a question in the back. Yeah, I'll write you a pass here in a moment. Okay, can I get somebody to read to this point, please? Can I get a volunteer? Yes, go ahead.
What you will learn to multiply and divide integers and solve problems involving integers. Why I learned this. Balloonists watch their altitude when they fly. You can multiply integers from combined change in altitude. A balloon descends at a rate of 4 feet per minute, 4 feet per 3 minutes. To multiply integers, think of multiplication as repeated addition. 3 times -4 equals -4 plus -4 plus -4 equals -12. The balloon descends 12 feet.
Okay, so I'm not a big fan of the way the book's trying to explain this, but I will explain the book's method of thinking about this. So if I have 3 -4s, a -4, a -4, a -4, and I take the sum of them, -4, -4, -4, well, that's going to be 12, and then keep the sign. That'll be a negative 12. Do you follow me? Okay, but here's how you can think about it. What's the sign in front of this 3? That's a positive 3 times a negative 4. Do you understand? So let's go back to our thinking. If they're different signs, what do we get back? Negative. So negative is what I get back, and then 3 times 4 is 12, negative 12. So the rules we're using for adding and subtracting and combining signs, we're going to use that for multiplying and dividing. It works the same way. Okay? So let's go ahead, moving right along. What sign is this 3 right here? It's a positive, right? And what sign is this 2 right here? That's a positive also. So same sign gets you back what? Positive. Positive what? What's 3 times 2? 6. Isn't that positive 6? So if I start at 0, and I add 2, and I add 2 more, and I add 2 more, so that's 3 skip counts of positive 2 to the right. That puts me at positive 6. You guys understand? Okay, so what's the sign of this 3 right here? It's positive again, and then I have this negative. Well, are they same sign or different signs? Different signs. So different signs gives you back what?
Negative.
A negative, right? So I have a negative, and then what's 3 times 2?
6.
I have a negative 6. So if we start at 0, and we skip count 3 times by negative 2, going to the left 2, 1, 2, 3. You see how that puts me at negative 6? But you don't need to think about this. You just say, hey, same signs or different signs? These are different signs, so what do I get back? Multiply my numbers. So, negative 6. Do you see how that works? You guys understand? Okay, same signs, positive, different signs, negative. Okay, moving right along. Let's take a look at this. Well, I have a negative 3 and what's the sign of that 2? It's a positive 2, right? So, are those same signs or different signs? Different signs. So what's the answer sign going to be? It's going to be negative. And then 3 times 2 is what? 6. It's going to be a negative 6. So the way the book has you think about it is they're saying, hey, it's the opposite of 3 times 2. So 3 times 2 is 1, 2, skip count by 3. That takes me to 6. But the opposite of positive 6, the opposite, takes you back to negative 6. Do you guys understand their thinking? I'm not a fan of their explanation, but just know that different signs gives you back what for products? A negative. And then over here, same signs or different signs? I have a negative 3 and a negative 2. Is that same or different? Same. So what's my answer sign going to be? It's going to be a positive 6. Because they're the same signs. That's a negative, and that's a negative. Negative 3 and negative 2. Positive. So first, if I go 3 times negative 2, I go to the left 3. Skip counts of negative 2. But then the opposite of negative 6 is positive 6. So, but you don't need to think about it that way. Just say, hey, are my signs the same or are they different? Do you guys understand? Is there any questions at this point? Okay. All right, so let's just summarize the rules. If I have the same sign, then my answer sign is going to be positive. If I have different signs, my answer sign is going to be what? Negative. So what's the sign of this 3 right here? And then what's the sign of the 2? So what's the answer sign? Negative. And 3 times 2 is what?
6.
So the answer is negative 6. Do you guys see how this works?
Yeah.
Okay, so now what I need you to do, I need you to go ahead answer these 4 questions. So the questions are pretty easy. You're using these rules I've been giving you. Now you're going to try to hold on to those set of rules by doing these problems. So can somebody walk us through the first problem? Somebody I haven't called on yet. Go ahead.
Since, so first we do the sign, so first we put the sign,
Okay, what's the sign of 5?
the sign of 5 is positive,
And what's the sign of 3?
positive,
Okay, so a positive 5 times a positive 3 gives me what?
a positive number,
Same signs give you a positive, and what's the number going to be?
it's going to be 15.
Because 5 times 3 is 15, so positive 15. Who's got this next one over here? Going to go next in line over here? Walk me through that. Okay, since they both have the same sign, which is negative, same signs is going to be a positive. And what's the magnitude? What's the number going to be? 15. So it's going to be positive 15. Because same signs will give you back a positive number. Next in line, right here. Can you walk me through this? Yes.
5 times -3.
Right. And what's that going to give me back? Well, what's the sign of this 5?
Positive.
Okay. And then we have a negative 3. So are they the same sign or are they different signs?
Different.
So what's the answer sign going to be if they're different signs?
-15.
Negative, because they're different signs. And then 5 times 3 is 15. So negative 15. Okay. Next in line, right here. Can you walk me through this problem?
Okay, so 3 is positive.
Yes.
because it has
This
sign.
3 is positive. And so I have negative 5 times a positive 3. And what does that give me back?
It's gonna be a negative.
Yes, a negative what?
15.
Negative 15. Very good. Different signs gives me a negative. 5 times 3 is 15. Isn't this easy? Okay. So let's move along to the next item. Division is the same rule as multiplication. If I divide by the same sign, my answer sign is going to be what? If I divide by different signs, my answer sign is going to be what?
Negative.
Can you guys work these out really quickly? Somebody walk me through this first one. Actually, Daniel, can you walk me through this problem right here? So first of all, what's my answer sign going to be? What's the sign of my answer going to be?
Sign.
Yeah, my answer sign. What's that? So are these the same sign or are they different signs? Do I have the same sign here or are they different signs? Okay, so if they're the same sign, what will my answer sign be? Same sign is positive. So my answer sign, because they're the same signs, will give me back a positive answer, positive result. Okay? But then go ahead and divide it out. What's 10 divided by 2? Or what's half of 10? Right. So positive 5 is my answer. Do you see how easy that is? Okay. Somebody walk me through the next one. Go ahead.
So since there's different signs,
Okay.
the 10 is going to be a positive because there is no sign.
Uh-huh.
And then since there's 2 different signs, then it will be negative.
Uh-huh.
And then when you divide it, it's going to be 5, so it will be negative 5.
Right. So different signs. The result is a negative. Okay, any questions? All right, so it's not different from multiplication or product, but here's what we have. We have a problem, and it's a word problem. This is where students tend to struggle. So, do you mind reading this question?
dividing into this. A rock climber is at an elevation of 10,100 feet. 5 hours later, she is 7,340 feet. Use the formula below to find the climber's vertical speed.
Okay, so here's our formula. Vertical speed is equal to the difference of final elevation and initial elevation. So we have to, in my word problem here, I need to identify what value is the final elevation and what value is the initial elevation. So final is where she ends up. Initial, to initiate means what? If I initiate a conversation with somebody, what's that mean? I started a conversation. So initiate to the initial elevation. Where did she start? Where did she start at?
10,100.
A lot of students want to say the largest number. It is the initial 10,000, right? That's where she started. And then after some time, she ended up where?
7,304.
7,304, right? And the formula says to take the difference, right? And then we take the difference of that and divide by what? Time, which is 5 hours. Okay? So, let's work this out. Before we can divide this fraction, we have to simplify the numerator. What is the sign of this if there's no sign in front of it? It's positive. So 7,340 feet is positive. I need you guys to take the difference of this and then divide it out. Can somebody walk me through taking the difference of the numerator, the numbers in the numerator? Can I get somebody to walk me through that?
So we have to find the difference and divide by
Okay, so they're different signs, right? These two numbers are different signs. So what do I do with the numbers? When they're different signs, what do I do with the numbers?
You make it a negative.
I'm gonna take the difference. When the signs are different, I take the difference. So let's go ahead and do that. So I have 10,100 feet, and I'm gonna subtract 7,340 feet. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So 0 take away 0, but 4 from 0, I gotta regroup. That becomes a 10. This becomes a 0. 10 minus 4 is 6. And then I gotta borrow again. And this basically becomes a 10 and a 0. Then this becomes a 9, so that this can become a 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. And then 9 minus 7, 2. 2,760. So my numerator, feet, make sure you label it. 2,760 feet divided by 5 hours. So I need you guys to divide that out. But are we done? What's the sign of my numerator? Because I took the difference of these two numbers. What's the sign going to be? Yes. It's going to be negative. And why do we say it's going to be negative?
Because there's two different signs.
Right, we have two different signs, but we have to pick the sign of the larger magnitude. Which one's the larger magnitude?
10,000.
So the larger magnitude is negative, so we keep that. Okay? So now we need to divide. I'm dividing this number that's negative by this number that's positive. So now we're using those rules again. The rules to combine signs and the rule for multiplying and dividing sign numbers. Now, do you guys remember when we have fractions, we could turn that into long division, right? So how would I turn this into long division? Which number goes inside the house? The top. If you're on top, you're in. So I got this number right here. Goes inside my house. And I really don't need that feet. So I'm going to erase that. And I'm dividing it by the bottom number, which is 5. Okay. So 5, can it go into 2? No. Can 5 go into 27?
Yes.
How many times?
5.
5 times. 5 times 5 is?
25.
So I'm going to subtract 25. Subtract that off. I got a 2. Bring down the 6. 5 again. 5 times 5 again is going to be 25. And then I get a 1. I bring down the 0. And then when I bring down that 0, 5 goes into 10 twice. 10. No remainder. So, what is my answer? This isn't my answer yet. What's my answer going to be? The answer is going to be negative. Why is the answer going to be negative? Because I'm dividing a negative by a positive number. And when they're different signs, the answer sign is going to be negative 552 feet per what? Per hour. Okay, are we good? And that is my final answer. That is the that's the vertical speed. And notice because it's negative, what's that mean? Is she ascending or descending?
Descending.
Descending. Her altitude is dropping. Okay, so now that you have that example, I need you to work out this example. Yes. Okay, who can walk us through this one? Where are we at? Okay, where are you? Go ahead and walk me through this. What's the final elevation? So can you read the problem really quickly?
Find the vertical speed of the climber who goes from an elevation of 8,120 feet to an elevation of 6,548 feet in 3 hours.
Okay, so what's my final elevation?
6,548.
Okay, good. And I gotta take the difference of that with what else?
8,120.
Okay, the initial elevation. Very good. Okay, and what's my time that passes?
3 hours.
Okay, good, 3 hours. Okay, so in order for me to divide this fraction out, I have to simplify the numerator first, right? So, go ahead.
8,120 from 6,548.
Okay, so what's the sign of 6,548 going to be?
Positive.
Positive. So I got a positive here and a negative here. So because they're different signs, I'm going to take the difference. And so let's go ahead and do that. I got 8,120 feet. And I'm going to subtract 6,548 feet. We're going to take the difference of those two. And so what do we do to get the first digit?
You have to cross out the 10 of 0.
So I'm going to regroup.
Cross out the 10, make it a 1.
Okay,
10 minus 8 equals 2.
very good. Now, what are we going to do?
The left 1.
So this has become a 0, and now this is an 11. So what's that going to be?
7.
Okay, 7.
Then cross out the 8.
Got to regroup again. And then this becomes a 10. Good. 10 minus 5 is?
5.
Okay. And 1. All right, so now in the numerator, we have 1,572 feet. But what is the sign of that going to be? Negative. And why did you say negative?
Because on the feet, 8,120 is a negative and it's bigger.
This is the larger magnitude. It's farther from 0 than this is, right? So the negative is going to be what my answer will have. Now I got to divide. I got to do my long division. I could divide 1,572 divided by a positive 3. And then which one goes inside the house?
1,572.
Right, 1,572. When you're on top of the fraction, you're inside. And when you're on the bottom, you are outside. So I have this 3 on the outside.
So 3 goes into, can't go into 1, so you have to do
Okay, 3 can't go into 1, but 3 goes into 15 how many times?
5.
5. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract that, 0. Bring down my 7. How many times 3 go into 7?
2.
Twice. And 2 times 3 is what? 6. Subtract that off.
1.
Bring down that 2. And what do we have? 3 goes into 12 how many times?
4.
4 times. And then we get no remainder. So my answer, my final answer, ends up being 524 feet per hour. But is it a positive or a negative?
Negative.
Negative. And why do we say negative?
Because the positive times the negative.
Because when we take a positive and divide by a negative, or a negative and divide by positive, the answer sign is going to be negative. And so, is this climber ascending or descending? Descending again. Okay? And then, let's take a look at this. I'm going to read this to you because we're running short on time. A cave explorer descends at a rate of 6 meters a minute. Which expression cannot be used to find her depth after 4 minutes? So first of all, let's think about this. They're telling you her speed. They want to know how far she went after 4 minutes. What are you going to do? What are we doing? Go ahead. We're going to multiply. So which of these is a representation of multiplying by negative 6? Tell me one that is multiplying by negative 6. Which one's showing me multiply by negative 6? Which one's multiplying by negative 6?
Negative 6 times
Negative 6 times 4, yes. That is a multiplication of negative 6 times 4. That's going to be negative 20 what?
4.
Okay. What else is going to show me a product of negative 6 and 4? What other ones are going to show me a product? I see pointing. Somebody tell me. Go ahead.
Right there.
Which one? The first row? What's that?
Underneath it cannot. Right there.
Yes, right in it, this one, yes. So this is just rewriting, so -6 plus -6 plus -6 plus -6. All of these double signs can be written as a negative, right? These can be rewritten, right? So it's -6, -6, -6, -6. What's -6 minus 6? -6 more, -6 more. What's that going to be? It's going to be -24 again. And now if you look, we rewrote this, and what does this look like? It looks like something else over here, right? It looks exactly like this problem, and that is also subtracting 6's, and that equals -24. So these are all representations of -6 times 4. The only one that is not is this one, and that's a division. -6 divided by a +4, and that would be a fraction, and it would be a negative fraction. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's take a look at this. The product of two integers is 0. What do you know about the value of at least one of the integers if the product of them is 0? What do we know about that? At least one of them has to be what? Go ahead. If I'm multiplying two numbers and I get 0 back, what do at least one of those numbers have to be? Go ahead. No.
Oh,
Yes. Go ahead. One of them has to be 0, right? And what's the name of that property? Rehan.
zero property,
The 0 property of what?
multiplication.
Of multiplication. Very good. So can they both be 0 and I get back 0? Right. Can one of them be 0 and I get back 0? Yes. That's the 0 property of multiplication. Now, I need you guys to look at these, and can somebody answer this first question? Harrington. If I have a -7 and I multiply it to another number and I get back -28, what's that number going to be? A +4, because a negative times a positive gives me a negative. So negative times positive, negative, and 7 times 4 is 28. Very good. Who can tell me this next one? Osmond, go ahead. You're saying -8? And that is correct, because two negatives give me back a positive. 48 divided by 8 is 6. Are we good? Now, I'm going to warn you, this last one, everybody got the sign right, but everybody got the number wrong. They wanted to say 5. That's not right. Can somebody tell me the answer? Look at that. Go ahead. Yes, it is going to be positive. Go ahead. Yes, positive 80. 80 divided by 4 is 20, but a positive 80 divided by a -4 is -20. Different signs getting back to
Oh,
negative.
because you have to multiply.
Okay,
20
you
times.
can go backwards and say 20 times 4 is 80 to work backwards to it. Okay, so we're almost done. Those are the solutions. And here's the last set of problems I have for you to do. What is -2 times a -13? Who's got this one? Yes.
Since they're the same,
Same signs? Uh-huh.
just multiply 13 times 2,
Right?
which is 26.
26, and what's that going to be, a positive 26 or a negative 20? Positive, because same signs give you a positive. Who's got the next one? Somebody I haven't heard from. Yes, go ahead.
Since there's two different
Different signs, very good.
it's gonna be negative, so
Different signs gives me a negative, and what's the number part? What's 22 divided by 11?
2.
2. Boom, easy. Who's got this one? I have this one right here. Who can give me this one? Yes.
Negative 36.
Right, because I have a -4 times a positive 9, so that's different signs, negative 36. And the last problem, who's got this last one? I haven't heard from Dominique. Dominique, can you walk me through this last one? Different signs, It's going to be a negative, and what's the number part going to be? 5. So -25 divided by a positive 5 is a -5, and that concludes my lesson for the day.